Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving into a story that has left South Africa both outraged and laughing in disbelief. It comes from KwaZulu-Natal, a province famous for its fertile farmlands, sugarcane fields, and rich agricultural heritage. But this time, the conversation is not about crops, cattle, or food production. Instead, it's about a shocking statement from the Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, that has turned the South African Police Service into the butt of some very dark humor. During a recent public engagement, Mkhwanazi made a comment that nobody saw coming. Comparing the work of the police in KwaZulu-Natal to farming, he said, "What we as the police in KZN do can basically be called agriculture. We put more bodies into the ground than nature allows." Now, whether he meant this as a metaphor, a frustrated cry for help, or simply a tasteless joke, the remark landed like a bomb. In a province already wrestling with high murder rates, political assassinations, and gang violence, those words cut deep. Within hours, the statement spread across social media, and South Africans did what they always do best: they turned tragedy into satire. Memes flooded the internet. People started calling SAPS the South African Planting Services. One viral comment read, "KZN police don't fight crime, they cultivate it." Others joked that perhaps the commissioner was trying to apply for a position in the Department of Agriculture, since his team seems to be experts in planting. Even undertakers got in on the humor. A funeral director in Durban quipped, "We are so busy we might as well partner with the Department of Agriculture. At this rate, we'll need a tractor just to keep up with the digging." But beneath all the jokes lies a serious frustration. Communities across KwaZulu-Natal have lived under the constant shadow of violent crime. Taxi wars, political killings, extortion, and gang shootouts dominate headlines. According to the latest crime statistics, KZN remains one of the top 3 provinces for murder in the country. Families live in fear, and many have lost faith in the ability of SAPS to provide safety. For them, the commissioner's words were not just careless. They were a painful reminder of the reality that law enforcement often arrives too late or fails altogether to prevent bloodshed. Civil society groups and opposition parties wasted no time in condemning the remark. Nhlanhla Dlamini, a spokesperson for the KZN Community Safety Forum, summed up the mood by saying, "This is not just poor judgment. It's an insult to grieving families and a trivialization of lives lost to crime. Instead of cultivating metaphors, SAPS should be cultivating public trust and effective policing." That statement hits the heart of the matter. When police leadership jokes about death in a province already traumatized by violence, it only deepens the mistrust between communities and the very people tasked with protecting them. At the same time, some police officers have defended their boss. They argue that his words were taken out of context, that he was simply trying to highlight how overwhelming the situation really is. An officer from Umlotsi said, "I believe the general was trying to drive home the reality of how many people are dying, and how much pressure we are under. It wasn't meant to make light of death, but to show how serious things really are." And in fairness, one could argue that the commissioner may have been reaching for an extreme metaphor to shock the public into recognizing the scale of the crisis. But if that was his aim, it may have backfired spectacularly. Adding to the bizarre turn of events, even the Department of Agriculture decided to weigh in, joking that if the police are so efficient at producing body counts in difficult conditions, maybe they could help with the tomato harvest. While meant in jest, the comment only added fuel to the public storm. Instead of putting the controversy to rest, the police commissioner's silence since then has allowed the debate to grow louder. Should he apologize? Should he clarify? Or should he stand by his words as a grim reflection of reality? Let's not forget the broader context here. KwaZulu-Natal is not just another province on the crime statistics sheet. It has been described as South Africa's political killing capital. Councillors, activists, and whistleblowers are gunned down with chilling regularity. Taxi associations fight bloody battles over routes. Ordinary residents live with break-ins, hijackings, and robberies as part of daily life. Against that backdrop, the people expect their police commissioner to provide leadership, direction, and above all, hope. Instead, they were given a grim farming metaphor that, while darkly funny to some, felt like salt in an open wound to others. This raises a much larger question about the culture of policing in South Africa. When crime rates are sky high and communities have lost trust, should the leaders of SAPS be using gallows humor to make a point? Or does this simply highlight how normalized death and violence have become in certain parts of the country? For many, it feels like a reflection of despair. When the person in charge of fighting crime compares the province's tragedy to agriculture, it suggests that even those in uniform may have grown numb to the endless bloodshed. And here is the twist that makes this story so captivating. While South Africans continue to poke fun at the commissioner's words, creating hashtags and memes, the real harvest that nobody is laughing about is the harvest of lives lost week after week. Every joke hides a truth, that families are burying their loved ones, that communities are tired of empty promises, and that unless something changes, the metaphor of planting and harvesting bodies might feel less like satire and more like a cruel reality. So, what happens next? Will Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi come forward with an apology? Will the provincial government step in to demand accountability? Or will this simply blow over, like so many scandals before it, with the public left to pick up the pieces? One thing is certain, KwaZulu-Natal cannot afford to normalize its crisis any longer. Whether through jokes, memes, or outrage, the people have made their point clear. They don't want agriculture of death. They want real action against crime. And that's where we'll leave it today. What do you think about the commissioner's comments? Were they a shocking but honest reflection of reality, or an irresponsible joke at the expense of victims? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into South African politics and society. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe. See you next time.